Alright, peace to you, men. How are you? Now, before I get into the topic of this video, I want you guys to appreciate this beauty. Look at this. Look at that beautiful, beautiful, pretty much full moon right now. On a crystal clear night, you could probably hear the birds chirping in the back, and it is truly a sight to behold. Praise the Most High. All glory and honor goes to the Most High for this. He created the sun and the moon serviceable to man so that we may be able to keep times and seasons and certain points in the year, and he made them serviceable to us, and we thank the Most High for that. What a beautiful, beautiful sight, a reminder of God. All honor goes to the Most High. But the topic of this video that I want to get into is I'm telling you, man, this one is going to ruffle a lot of feathers, and this one also is going to be very much at odds with kind of the narrative that's springing up in the quote-unquote alt and conspiracy side of the internet. This is going to be at odds with it because I'm going to point out one of their big mistakes, and I think a lot of people, and specifically I think a person in my comment section, he pointed this out to me, and I agreed with him because I've thought about this before he even told me. And he said that in my video on one of the big problems I see coming in the future is going to be this like hardcore traditional religion, this belief in traditional religion, orthodoxy, traditional Sunnism, traditional like Catholicism. This is going to rise up in the future as a retaliation to the problems that have come up with secularism and the complete failures that have arisen because of secularism and atheism. People are starting to recognize that, and they're going to have a reactionary response. And some guy pointed out to me that this is also going to have a huge tie with nationalism, and I totally agree. I totally agree. And I just want to talk about, and once again, this is going to ruffle feathers. This is not going to be what the narrative you're going to learn on the alt side of the internet, the conspiratorial side of the internet. But nationalism is so vain. Nationalism is vain, and I can't help but think that, and for a variety of reasons. And the reason I'm inspired to make this talk is because my wife and I, we were laying down together, and we just had like a heart-to-heart. Now, we're in interracial marriage. I'm Pakistani, and she is half Nigerian, half Italian. You know, we're able to, because we're both Canadian, right? We're able to marry each other. There's no really much cultural difference between us. And but you know, genetically, ethnically, we have different backgrounds, right? Half Nigerian, half Italian, and I'm Pakistani. And we're just like talking about our culture and our history, and how like vain the entire thing is. So she doesn't really identify much with her culture because she's, as far as she knows, she's just Canadian. She's just born and raised in Canada. Her dad is Italian, mom is Nigerian, and she doesn't even speak Italian, doesn't speak Yoruba. She just speaks English and French. And I speak a little bit of Urdu, Thora sa main bolta hu, but my Urdu is not really that good. I am, for all intents and purposes, an English person. I'm a Canadian person. I write my books in English, my messages in English, my videos are in English. I prefer English, and I think in English. English is my language. And it's like people are starting to, as a reaction to the New World Order, and I get it, the multiculturalism thing, it's an agenda that they're promoting, but as a reaction to the New World Order, people are going into these hard forms of nationalism, hardcore, like just full-on neo-Nazism, full-on black supremacy. And I can understand that, but I think these things are a mistake. I think things are a mistake because, well, first and foremost, I don't see it in the Quran. The Quran makes it very clear that God, this is like hardcore nationalism thing. I don't see it within the Word of God. God makes it very clear to us that God has created mankind male and female, and he has created us in different hues and different races so that we will recognize one another. But the most noble and righteous, the most noble of us in the eyes of God is the most righteous. So it's based on our character. And I take this verse and I reflect on my experience in Canada, and so does my wife. And I have to admit, man, I gotta admit that I know, and you know, I'm probably gonna be called cucked, and I'm probably gonna be called, you know, you're not base, you're cucked, you're blue pilled or whatever. I don't care. I don't care what these people call me. You know, I can't help but reflect on my experience in Canada. I really love how Canada, in some ways, it's multicultural in some ways, and I know the cultures are degrading, the cultures are losing themselves because of the secularism that's promoted in the agendas. I understand that, but I like how Generally speaking, I can walk into a store, I can talk to people in the streets, and I'm not judged for my brownness. I'm judged on the content of my character, generally speaking. Now, the standards by which they judge people, their ability to virtue signal, their ability to kind of pretend that certain filthy things are okay and acceptable and natural. These are not good standards. I'm not agreeing with that. I don't agree with their standards, but I like the fact that I'm not racially, at least for the most part, I'm not judged by my race, at least initially. I'm judged by the content of my character. My brownness won't be as much of a factor playing into the equation of people judging me, and I like that. And that is the Quranic model. That is the Quranic standard. We judge people by the content of their character. And while my wife and I were just having this heart to heart with each other, I'm realizing how vain it all is. It's so vain. I mean, you have people in Pakistan that are holding up the flag of Pakistan. You're having people in Jamaica holding up their Jamaican flag, and people in Trinidad holding their Trinidadian flag up. And these countries, they didn't even exist like 100 years ago, man. They didn't. Um, what are we getting proud over? What are we exalting at? Like, the fact that we speak a certain language, the fact that we wear a certain style of clothing, the fact that we eat a certain type of food, that's not an accomplishment. That means nothing. The type of food you eat, the type of clothes you wear is not going to save you from the judgment of God. It's not going to save you from the fire, bro. Like, no cap. It's not going to save you at all. It's vanity. It's just a way for mankind to find something to exalt at. That's what he does. That's what he does. This nationalism stuff, I can't help but see it as vanity. Me, I don't care, man. I don't care. I don't care if you're so-called black person. Really, they're not black people. The people of Africa and whatnot. They're brown people. Black is a status that's been applied to them. I can't believe that the man in Sri Lanka, like the dark Indian man, or even somebody like me, I'm known as a brown person. He's known as a brown person, but somebody like this guy is known as a black person. I'll have an image up on the screen, and it's the status that's been applied to you. You guys are brown people, but nonetheless, melanated people with non-silky hair. But nonetheless, that's a little bit of a brief tangent. You guys are brown people, not black. But um, like, it doesn't matter to me whether you're a so-called black person, you're a Chinese, you're a white, you're Pakistani, Indian. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. If you believe in the same things as me, you're on the tremendous tradition. You believe in the doctrine that the Most High has sent down. You're my brother, bro. Nothing, obviously, if you speak English, we're able to at least communicate with each other. Nothing is going to stop me from yoking up with you and broing you up and being hardcore with you. Having your back and being a loyal brother. Nothing's going to stop me. I don't feel that sense of nationalism because it just seems so vain to me, and perhaps it's colored by my perspective as well. I'm a cultureless Canadian, right? Canada is nothing. It's just a melting pot of all different types of people. But people are holding up, like I was saying, they're holding up this flag of Pakistan and Trinidad and Jamaica, and these things didn't even exist 100 years ago. It's vain. It's vain. I don't see this type of importance being applied to nationalism in the Quran. Not at all. Not at all. Nationalism is not going to save you from the fire. What if your culture or your nation has a history of worshiping pagan idols? What if they have a history of worshiping Jesus, let's say? And I'm not knocking on the people, but let's say like these Latin American cultures, they're Catholic. They have a history of worshiping Jesus and praying to Mary and stuff. These are not things to be proud of. What, you're going to follow it because it's your culture? Your forefathers followed it? Well, the Quran specifically condemns that, following after your forefathers blindly. It says, what if your forefathers knew nothing? What good is your culture if your culture's beliefs are going to take you to hell? This stuff is vanity, and I can't help but see this rising, bubbling, like cancerous tumor under the internet. People who understand the New World Order, they understand there's something wrong with the world, they understand the agendas of feminism and the pharmaceutical industries, they get that the system is out to get you and it's weaponized against you in every single way, but then they go down these hardcore nationalist routes. And I notice in particular, I know this is a trap, and I notice in particular it happens more with Canadians and Americans in particular, and I'll give you my reason why I think that's the case. The hardest forms of nationalism, they're found in America, not in England, in these like white supremacist type of dudes. And why is that the case? It's because America and Canada are relatively new concepts. They really have no history or culture. Since America set itself free, quote unquote set itself free from England, they have no culture and no history. They have no identity. The people are looking for their own identity, and being caught in a land with no identity, no root, no purpose, no sense of self, a lot of people are susceptible to these high forms of nationalism, these hardcore nationalist kind of groups. They start rising up, these neo-Nazis. They're biggest in America because they're culturalists in America. Even with, I've noticed as well with the types of guys I talk to, I don't know if you're familiar with, but the black Hebrew Israelite type of people. The black Hebrew Israelites, or so-called black people, they have no culture either. The African Americans, for the most part, they've been separated from their root. And if you ask a lot of these so-called African Americans where they're from in Africa, they have no idea. That you just ask them where they're from, they'll say, "I'm American. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a Missourian. I'm from Kentucky," or whatever. They don't even know where they're from. They've been separated. It's this new thing that's been created, separated, not having any root. And then these guys, they find something to attach to lalatch onto. Whether they are or not is not what I'm debating here. Perhaps they could be, God knows best. They could be the Israelites, but they find this ancient culture, this Israelitish Torah observant culture. They attach onto it and they identify with it, and they use it as a form of black supremacy. And it's just a way of finding a culture when you have none. And it's a trap. It's a reactionary response. And just on the subject of the African American, I'm thinking about this even more now, that it's not just the quote-unquote black Hebrew Israelites. It's also even with the Nation of Islam thing as well. They're a hardcore black nationalist, black supremacist group as well that's tied themselves to religion, and they've made their race almost a part of their doctrine as well. And whether it's the black Hebrew Israelites, the black Nation of Islams, the white supremacist 1488 or neo-Nazi kind of crowd, whatever group, these hardcore nationalists who are trying to find a root and fight and react against the New World Order when they feel cultureless, I've never been impressed by either of these people and their moral character.
You know, the truth is, drug is for the white man. That's what it is, man. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? The Lord will destroy America. He will destroy the identity of America, man. He will destroy the people that put our people in bondage, man. And they can just walk up. Because the white man is the devil, the Bible speaks of. All of them. Especially the white man standing in front of us. You know why? Because he's mad that we love each other. And when we start to talk about black people loving each other and unifying and coming together and the crimes that the white man has committed against us, our oppressor gets mad that we even speak out about it like a true rapist. Like a true murderer, he is. You understand? Black people can't be racist. We can only have pride and love for each other. Back up! Back up! See, the demon on the white man want him to get his behind beat. You understand? And let me tell you something, the white man, he is so much of a diabolical, evil bastard. He gets mad at us loving each other, man. When all we out here saying is blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians need to come together and separate from the white man because he's the devil. What's wrong with that?
That would be action, and we can respect that. I can have a dialogue with you. I can communicate with you. You understand? But if you're not willing to do what God says, then you're a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite. You understand? And Christianity is full of hypocrites. So take your place among the stars. You understand? Get down on the ground and serve the real and true power of Israel. You understand? The God of blacks, Native American Indians, and so-called Latinos. The people that you rape, rob, and murder in North America, Central America, and South America. You have crimes to pay. You understand? You white people, all you white people should be ashamed of yourself for the evil crimes that you've done to our people. You understand? But I don't believe you. I don't see no action from you. You understand? I didn't ask you. You said you was going to give me all your money. I don't want your money. I want to see your knees on the ground.
That's right. God, and not just knowing about him. It's about having a life where you're a vessel of God's Spirit.
Why are you looking at me?
Where you can love your neighbor because God is loving your neighbor through you.
Understand? If you are sorry for the crimes that your forefathers and foremothers did to black people, Harriet Tubman had to go to St. Catherine's. You understand? And run across the border, running from your brothers in America. They still white, whether they Chinese, whether they French or Russian or German, you're still the same people. Read on and look up the dust of thy feet and lick up the dust of thy feet. You are to kiss the boots of the prophets of God, the children of Israel.
You know, in our
Yes,
history,
and
but
would
we
you
know a lot
like to
about
take your
history.
place
We really
amongst
corrupted
a good white person in the Bible?
We know
There are
according to
good
the
white
flesh
people.
and according to
They just gotta prove it.
nationalities that
So do you
slavery
want
has
to
existed.
extend
But
your
did you know
lips
that the Bible
to these
calls all of
boots
us slaves?
so that you might
The Bible
get a
says that when we don't
goddamn
have
crumb
Jesus in our life,
in the
we're a
kingdom
slave
of
to our
heaven?
sin. Our sin is like a master controlling us. We're a slave to sin. Unless Jesus Christ sets us free, unless he breaks the chain, we're actually a slave
Every
to
man
sin.
here is one
we're
man.
a slave to the devil.
This is
And
one
he
man.
manipulates you and abuses you and causes death. That's why the
No.
Bible says the thief comes to steal
Hey,
and
guess
to
what?
kill
Any
and to
other
destroy.
man,
You
any
see,
other
everything
man,
that
any
you see
other
in the
man would
world,
have
we
went to
see
war with the
stealing,
so-called white
killing,
man for the treatment that
destroying,
we've
hatred,
done.
all of that.
Black people,
It says
Isaiah
through the
chapter
prophets
14 and 1.
that
I mean, even I've gone to like these kind of ISUPK, what are they called? Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, and I try to talk to these guys about the doctrine, about the Word of God, about the Most High. I want to, as much as I can, whether I want to be able to find strong, hardcore men who are willing to fight in the cause of God. I want to be able to find them and introduce them to the Quran, and perhaps, hopefully, get a brother out of them. And when I go to these people, as soon as they find out I'm Pakistani, that I'm not native or Mexican or black or anything like that, they have no interest in talking to me. I'm not impressed by these, and even these white nationalist groups. They don't want to talk to me because I'm brown. I'm not impressed by their character. Where is that in the Quran? Where in the Quran do we turn away a man? How can you do that? Where is your fear of God that a man, doesn't matter who they are, Chinese, black, brown, white, doesn't matter. They come to you with a love and a seeking and a yearning of God and a yearning for the Most High, wanting to talk to you about the most important thing, which is the Most High. They want to talk to you about the one true God, and you turn him away based on your race, or you treat him like crap, or treat him as below you, or as the kind of just abject because of their race. This is not in the Quran. This type of a belief does not come out of prudent fear. This is ignorance. This is ignorance. I'm not impressed by any of the morality that comes out of these nationalist groups. They're genuinely bigoted and hateful, and in a bad way, hateful of things that don't deserve hate, and racist. And I see that as actually a sin on their record. If you turn a man away, just as these Israelite guys have turned me away for trying to talk to them about the Most High, just because I didn't belong to the racial group that they want me to, they turn me away. I see that as a sin on their record, and I wouldn't want such a thing on my record. No way. And of course, you get the good brothers out there. You get men like my good brother Dolph. He doesn't hold anything against me for my racial difference from him. He's just a good man who follows hard upon the Quran. He understands the truth. And then, of course, you also get your very bigoted, extremist, nationalist type people. And I'm more impressed with guys like Brother Dolph, or just the people who they focus on what's important. I see that as definitely the more Quranic man and the more righteous man. Certainly the more rightly guided man, the one who focuses on the character of a man as opposed to the color of his skin. And it's like these things, like I said, they were not going to save you from the punishment of God. I can't help but feel that way. I can't help. It's a trap, because it gets you to focus on things that are not really important, that are not. What's important is the character of a man. What's important is the righteousness of a man. What's important is the content within a man's soul. That is the most important thing, his behaviors and his habits, not the color of his skin. And I know that might sound not based. I know that might sound blue pill, but that's just, I can't help but feel and see things in that manner, because I see nationalism as vanity. I see it even in my own family. Pakistanis exulting at their Pakistaniness, holding up their flag. Even now with the whole Imran Khan thing going on right now. I know almost nothing about it, but people are exulting over Imran Khan. They're holding up these Pakistani flags. It's vain, man. It's vain. It's not going to help in any way whatsoever. The believing brothers and sisters, we got to unite, man. We got to unite, and we got to, as long as we speak the same language, of course, so we can communicate with each other, we have to unite and put these things aside and brother up with people who have the same doctrine as us. Brother up with people who have the same doctrine as us. I don't care if you're Pakistani. I don't even care if you're a member, like you're an extended cousin of mine or whatever. If you're an atheist scumbag, if you deny the Most High, then be far from me, be far from me. You and I have a world of difference that me and, let's say, the Chinese Muslim submitter of God man, he has does not have that kind of difference to me. I feel more closer to him. I'm going to yoke him up. The guy who, let's say, comes from a Chinese family and speaks English, I'm going to feel more brothered up to him than the Pakistani guy who is an atheist and denier of God. Absolutely, absolutely. Nationalism is a trap, and don't fall for it. And I think this is disinformation being promoted in the alternative. People who get what's going on in the world, they're being fooled. They're being fooled. The flag that you hold up that's only existed for 100 or 200 years, less than that, it means nothing in the grand scheme of things. Races and tribes and cultures, they mix all the time. Cultures are lost all the time. We shouldn't really be crying about this so much. We should be crying about the degradation of morality, the loss of morality, the loss of spirituality, true spirituality, not new age spirituality, but true spiritual enlightenment, true following after the law of the Most High. We should be crying over that, not the loss of culture. Cultures are lost all the time. Let's think of even Pakistanis. Who are Pakistanis? We are Indian Arabs. That's what Pakistanis are. We're Indians who mixed in with those East Arabs, those like Far East Arabs who traveled over to the Indian subcontinent. They lost their culture. These East Arabs who went down to northern India, which is now known as Pakistan, they probably at one time spoke Arabic or a different language, and then they moved down to that area. They brought that with them, the Quran and the message of God. They settled down in that area, and then they lost their language. Now we speak Urdu, although Urdu is kind of a new language. Really, we speak Hindi. Urdu is the same language as Hindi spoken. We just adopt certain characters from the Arabic language, but we speak Hindi. We have an Indian subcontinent tongue. That culture was lost. That culture is completely lost. These African Americans, they come to America, and after a couple generations, their culture is lost. They don't know what part of Africa they're from. They're just, as far as they know, they're just New Yorkers, or they're from Kansas, or they're from Arizona, or wherever they're from. These, what else is there? What other examples of this? There's also with even my wife and I, if we have children, odds are our children, if God blesses us with them, they're not going to speak Urdu. They're definitely not going to speak Italian or Yoruba. They're probably just going to speak English and possibly a little French if she teaches them. And where does that, where is the Quranic precedent for crying over that? Cultures are mixed and mashed and lost, and languages are lost, and languages are retraced. This happens all the time. This is normal and natural with the movements of people upon God's expansive earth. We should not be crying over that. We should not be making a big deal out of that. We should not be turning our nations and our flags and our languages and our traditions into idolatry. And I see this going on, the conspiracy and alt side of the internet. And really, we should be crying about the loss and degradation of morality. I don't care about your culture. I don't care how old it is. If you guys worship idols, if you guys worship anything other than the one God, if you guys whore after idols, if you guys have a degenerate culture of looseness and profligacy, then I don't care. For me, that's fire. That's burn that. Utter fire that. Utter fire that. And that should be our primary concern as believers, not our nation, but the content of our character, the charity we give, the amount we read the scriptures, the amount we remember the Most High, the praises that we say to the Most High, the good works that we do, how much we fight and not compromise in His cause and in His law. And yeah, man, that's just my take on the matter as a cultureless Pakistani Canadian who doesn't feel at all connected to his culture in any way, doesn't feel any sense of nationalism. If you look at me, I'm wearing a hat on my head. I'm obviously not dressed like a Pakistani in any way. It's lost, and my kids are not going to have any Pakistani in them, really, other than genetically. And even Pakistani is not a genetic group. It's a national identity, but it's all going to be gone. It's not going to. It's all going away, man. It's all going away. It's not going to avail you on the day of judgment. But, anyways, men, that's really all I got to say on the matter. I hope this talk was a blessing. And yeah, peace to you. Remember, deceit abounds, so keep your eyes wide open. Peace out.
Assalamu alaikum, men. My name is Walid Naeem, and I have dedicated my entire life towards spreading the truth about the words of God. And I don't know about you, but personally, I have grown sick and tired of all these mainstream religions, and specifically the mosques, which have utterly failed us. I'm fed up with them placing the words of man, specifically their fabricated hadiths, at a higher authority than God's holy scriptures, their lack of knowledge about conspiracy facts and realpolitik, and their complete ignorance of the true nature of our earth. I've had enough of their compromise, their weakness, their lame sermons which put people to sleep, their virtue signaling, their fear of facing any real persecution, and their willingness to let the quote-unquote secular atheist utterly trample over them. The atheists own all of the educational boards and teach their propaganda to every so-called Muslim and quote-unquote non-Muslim child here in the West. And now with the Toyota Corolla hoax, the atheist has successfully broken apart our communities and made us utter slaves to their government. Our so-called quote-unquote Muslim sons are a bunch of wannabe hood rat gangsters who vape, drink, smoke weed, and party like animals. And our so-called quote-unquote Muslim daughters are not much different. They have no interest in hearing about the Word of God. They are all too busy YOLOing. This has all happened while the imams have been living very comfortably off of the hard-earned money of their community members in the donation bins. As stated before, I personally am completely fed up with this. The mosques have had all of the support, funding, enfranchisement, and time of our communities and have produced absolutely nothing. The atheist has made the so-called quote-unquote Muslim man his bitch. He has steamrolled him in every way possible. That is why I created Eyes Wide Open. This channel exists as a call to action for all of those strong believing men who trust in their Lord fully and refuse to compromise the Quran. It is time the true sons of Adam and the inheritors of the tremendous tradition, in other words, the true Quranic Muslims, to set up something for themselves and fearlessly stand up against the madness that is going on in the world. What you see with my channel right now is only the beginning. These short videos I make in my car are all that I have time for right now, working a full-time job. I scribble these together while at work and make these videos while running errands. But you ain't seen nothing yet. If God should will, I have so much more in store for Eyes Wide Open. I want this to be a platform for the believers. Just a couple of things I have planned for this channel is, firstly, creating scholarly books, documentaries, and essays to arm you guys with the intellectual firepower for dealing with all of our enemies. Secondly, I would like Eyes Wide Open to be a center for heavy activism, public and street preaching, going to City Hall, organizing protests, knocking doors, going to baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, and other major sporting events and preaching to the people leaving the stadium, going to the totally failed mosques, synagogues, and churches and debating with their religious leaders, going to universities and debating the quote-unquote secular professors on their laughable so-called science, and much more. It's time the believers start to fight back and shake the cage of this disgusting system. My goal is to create a base for the believers. I want people to know of our name, that there are dedicated, zealous, and studious men who do not compromise the Word of God, and we are ready to take action. If we keep waiting for our mosque to do something about the real problems of this world, then we will be waiting until Judgment Day. We need to create something now from the ground up. With that being said, may God bless us in all of our endeavors and guide us every step of the way. If this sounds like something you are interested in, and if you want to be a part of the movement, then you can help me out. My Patreon and PayPal are linked in the description of every video, and, God willing, if enough generous believers decide to fund this platform, then I can quit my full-time job and look for something part-time, or, even better than that, leave employment completely, which will give me more hours in the day to do this work. I do not care to be rich. All of that stuff is vanity anyways. But the fact of the matter is, my wife and I need to eat and have a roof over our heads. So, if you wish to support the cause, then I thank you sincerely for that and promise to fight with might and main in the cause of God for the believers. If you are not able to, hey, then I totally understand. Find somebody else who needs that money and give it to them. Give it out of fear of your Lord and in dread of that great and terrible day, which is coming to all of us. For all of the believers out there, the brothers and sisters who follow hard upon the truth, all I can say is much love to each and every one of you. May God reward you in this life and the hereafter. Praise goes to God alone. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Peace.